Today we are talking about two livestock farming that we've done really intensively here at Farming in Africa, and that is the goat farm and also the cattle farm. Both of them has been a journey, right? We started with cattle and then we move all the way to goats. And I think they both are very lucrative. It depends on what your passion is, what will keep you going, because they all have challenges. And secondly, the market that you have. But I want to spend some time on goat farming and really talk to you guys about what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of goat farming for us, so that you guys can have the comparison. So the first thing that I always talk about goat farming is basically their reproduction, right? So goats, if you start with this female goat or this female goat, right, and it's ready to cross, and you start your breeding process in February, in 150 days, this goat is going to give birth. So their reproduction is faster, and you can expand and grow your herd more than if you buy a cow. So I think that is one of the advantage to goats that I like. The second thing about goats is feeding. If you're thinking about practicing intensive farming like I am doing, then you want to make sure that you have enough feed to be able to feed them. And this is a message that I have basically been preaching since day one, right? To have enough feed to be able to feed them. And enough feed means that feeding these little ones, right? So this animal that you see here is about maybe 50 kg, right? So that this animal feeds 10% of his body weight, right? So if he has 50 kg, then you're feeding him about 5, right, kg. 5 kg of alfalfa or even corn is very low, right? Our biggest buck here is, I think, 90 kg. So that means we feed him about 9 kg of food every single day. We take a cow, you have to feed a cow 30% of the body weight. Our biggest cow there is about maybe 350 kg. So if I'm feeding 30% of his body weight, that's a lot of food. So that means that if I have 60 cows, 70 cows, 100 cows, the amount of land or feed I will need to be able to feed them intensively is very high. And therefore, for me, with all the lands that I have, I think it's still not enough, because they are all not at one place for me to be able to go into cattle farming at a larger scale, right? And that's one advantage for me the goats have over the cows. I think the second thing is the cost. The cost of basically rearing these guys are way cheaper. So building their shelter, but the size of land that you need to be able to put them on, it all brings the cost down as compared to cow. The bigger they are, the more they demand in terms of ranch size, in terms of land size, in terms of everything that you need to give them, right? So these guys are more cheaper. So if you're on a lower budget or you want to start from somewhere, you want to start with these guys, and then as you grow, and if you want to start with cows, you can then use this investment or the profit from here and start your cow. But I definitely think it is way cheaper to start these guys than to start a cattle ranch, right? So that is my last but one point.
I was going through my TikTok, the youth now is TikTok. It's TikTok we do, and then I had to Google on goat farm, and then the first search I had was on Farming in Africa, and then another friend also recommended Farming in Africa to me because he tried to start and then it failed. So he said, I looked at these people, so you can also check them out. So I was always watching. So my advice is that as I'm doing, do same. I'm benefiting from it, so I also want you to benefit. So go to their YouTube channel, subscribe. You can have them on TikTok, LinkedIn, or Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you want to.
I think the last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to this, guys, is the peace of mind. You know, ever since we had these goats here, we've never had any issue with anyone. The moment you feed them well, they won't break the fence, they won't go to people's farm. But with cows, even if we have, you know, a feed lot here and we are walking them there, they will branch and go into somebody's farm, right? They would, at night, out of the blue, break the fence and go out, and we'll have problems with people. I didn't like that at all, especially in the beginning when they were not used to being confined, right? These guys came with that experience of being confined, so we've never had that issue, you know. So I guess to me personally, this last point is about my peace, right? But let's go into the cow session and speak more about some of the advantages and pros that you can see in cows as well. I don't want to be so biased, but let me take you guys to the cow center and be able to show you guys our ranch, our cows. I mean, as you guys know, we've sold most of it, but we still have some, and show you some of the advantages that came with it as well. So now that we are at the cattle ranch, right, I need to talk to you guys about some pros as well as cons for cattle. So I think the first thing about cattle for me in particular is their demand, right? In my community, I know they kill about 9 cows, right? So that 9 cows a day, there is no farmer in this community that can provide even a single cow every day. So the demand is huge. The same thing applies to goats. There is demand for goats as well. But you know that with this demand, if I'm able to sell 1 cow every single day, that means that the amount they are going to pay for cow is definitely not compared to the amount they are going to pay for a goat, right? So the biggest thing for me is cow. And as you guys saw last year, when I wanted to sell my cows, within 2 days, they were all gone. Now look at what I have. Very few cows. So I think the demand for cow is huge. I think cows too, if you're doing cow in Africa or in Ghana specifically, you know, they are resistant to diseases. I think cows are not animals that, you know, like poultry, like piggery, where you can have so many diseases that you need to prevent, vaccinate all the time. They are easy to manage when it comes to diseases. Our cows are very healthy. We basically make sure that we feed them well. We give them, dewormer, you know, and then most of the time, sometimes actually we give them antibiotics, right? These are the only medications. So there's not really high maintenance when it comes to disease or, you know, infections that you can think of in some of the livestock farming. So that's like a good pro. I think the third one I would say is the value of their money, right? So if you're doing intensive and you have food, then you're not really spending that much on these cows in a year. Come over, let's go closer. You're not spending too much money with them on a year. But a cow like this, I will be able to sell this cow over 10,000 cedis, right? And if I'm able to sell this cow at 10,000 cedis, I will have to sell a couple of goats to be able to make 10,000 cedis at a go, right? So that really, really helps in terms of value for their money versus goats. I will have to sell a couple unless the exotic breeds. But I believe that if you do have exotic breeds of cows, it will be the same thing. The price will triple or even double for you as well. So I think that value adds a lot of sense to it. To me, if you have your source of food, if I had my source of food, I will balance it. I will still do both, but because of the food component, that is why I am a little bit geared to the goat farming, right? But there is nothing wrong with cows. These are some beautiful cows, and the way we've tamed our cows, they are very friendly. You always see me around them and so on, right? They're very friendly, and I just love being around them. Just that they are big. They are bigger than goats that you can play with as compared to cows. You just have to stand around. They won't hurt you. You can touch them and so on and so forth. So this is what you guys have. I've shared both my pros and cons with you guys. It's up to you to decide. Which of these do you want to go into? Is it cow? Is it goat? What works for you? What is the size of land? What is your source of feed, right? What is your passion? because there's going to be those difficult times, right? At those difficult times, are you still going to be able to overcome that and go back and do the work that you need to do, right? And that comes by passion, backed by passion. So I'll leave it up to you to make the decision, but let me know in the comments below what you think, what you're doing, or what you've decided. I will see you next in another video.